What's going on, Los Angeles? What is up? Welcome to the LAFB Network, live here from Big Ten Media Days at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, Nevada. Joining me, the great Tim Prangley, the great Madman, all the coverage here of your USC Trojans. First and foremost, gentlemen, a quick Vegas trip, an LA Vegas trip, very LA Vegas trip, tried 24 hours, got in last night, here all day, working the grind, and we're going to be heading out here soon. But before we go, what was the thoughts of Vegas Big Ten Media? I'll start with you, Tim.
Oh, this is the most wholesome Vegas trip I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Thanks to you two, keeping me in line and in check. It was a great time, great ride, good chance to spend some time team building with these guys, hanging out, talking about our top 10 lists and stuff on the way up here, and really enjoyed the atmosphere. Again, it's my first media day, so I don't have anything to bounce off these guys do. But overall, enjoyable process.
Yeah, Tim, it was so great to have you this year, and such a delight to be able to spend some quality time with as individuals. Yeah, it felt like a very kind of relaxed, mellow media day. I think that's kind of what happens when, you split it across 3 days. Mm-hmm. And so, a lot of space, a lot of room, opportunity for all of us to really ask a lot of questions to all the players and the coaches. So I think overall a really nice, successful 3 days.
Yeah, definitely. Having USC and UCLA, both the LA teams, being on day 3 versus day 2 last year in Indianapolis, I feel like you could see kind of a mini exodus of a lot of the media that had already left. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, all those schools went prior. So it felt a little more mellower, but overall a success. I think a lot of good stuff. We were able to get some good content. So thank you, everyone that follows LAFB and that's been checking us out. Lincoln Riley addressed the media. Obviously, all coaches do. 15 minutes to start. So before we get to his scrum, Tim, I'll ask you just it's 15 minutes, it's short, it's usually just a quick little address that most of us in local media already know, but nationally maybe not, just kind of the state of the program. Takes a few questions. What was your overall summation of Lincoln Riley up on the big stage?
It was your typical Lincoln Riley press conference, stuck to the point, talked to his talking points he wanted to talk about. He did get kind of emotional during the talk about the Notre Dame question regarding continuing the process of them trying to find a way to keep that tradition going. But again, overall, it's your typical Lincoln Riley press conference, I would say.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we're looking at Lincoln Riley in shorts right now, ready to hit the. I don't know if he's in the pool before they head back.
The links, something.
Yeah. All the players here looking good, ready to go, done with their media obligations. Jamal, any other takeaways from just the general 15-minute session?
Yeah, I mean, he's always so polished with the media. I like to joke that he's Senator Riley. He looks the part, speaks so eloquently, so smooth. I thought, though, Tim, to your point, this was probably the most emphatic and emotional he was in addressing the USC-Notre Dame rivalry. Mm-hmm. He talked a lot about personal stories of when he got, the OU offensive coordinator job from Bob Stoops and saying, hey, that's my opportunity to coach in OU, Texas. And he said, I thought the very same thing the night that I decided on the USC job, I was going to be able to coach in USC-Notre Dame. So, hell yeah, were his exact words that I'd want this game to happen every year. But having said that, his best interest is in USC's best interest, obviously. And I thought the terminology was very interesting when he said USC and Notre Dame are in radically different positions, thinking about this rivalry moving forward, USC being in a conference and Notre Dame not. So I walk away from that commentary feeling a little less confident that an agreement is going to be struck beyond this year.
Yeah, I'd agree. If you're an Irish fan right now, you definitely, the level he went to talk about how much he wanted this thing to continue, but then brought up the practicality of why it's not in USC's best interest, it would cause you some concern if you're an Irish fan.
Yeah, I took it as he was very honest, as we've all been. Like we've said, hey, we all want this game. Former players, but fans, everyone wants this game. College football fans, but for USC specifically, unless things do change, qualifiers, the time the game is played, it doesn't benefit SC in terms of the college football playoff. Now, that doesn't mean we don't want it, but you got to find what works. Whereas Notre Dame not being in a conference, and he made that very clear, they're in a different spot. So to me, this was kind of a public, everything USC and Lincoln Riley does won't probably be taken this way, but I took it as this was a very public way of saying, hey, this is in Notre Dame's court. This is in the NCAA's court. We want this game to go, but here's what we want to happen in order to make that occur. Now it's up to these guys to either play ball or if they want to just play this we want to play wherever, whenever, but we're not going to adapt to what you want kind of thing. Then we'll see what happens. So safe to say, we're all going to be in South Bend this year because it might be the last time.
Absolutely.
But to your point directly, is the fact that this game is far more important to all the fans. So we're all about this. The long-term fans of USC, this is something special in my family and through anyone's followed USC football. The problem is that you have an administration now at USC that don't have that long history and all of the emotions that we have. And as the landscape changes in college football, Lincoln Riley's make it pretty clear that it looks like it's probably, unless they have the automatic qualifier, which is something you talked about, that being very important. Everyone knows about that. That these non-conference games, these really tough non-conference, especially the extra travel going to the Midwest, might come to an end.
And the reality of the situation is it's not like Notre Dame is going to join a conference in the 2026 season. So I would have to imagine that there's going to be at least a pause in the action until Notre Dame decides that they want to join a conference. I thought Lincoln Riley got very detailed and was very articulate about schedule and schedule conformity and how he really thought about setting up the team's best chances for success in the college football play. He was very clear about that. So you can tell Lincoln is thinking very strategically about what is my shortest path possible to the college football playoff. And unfortunately, that road, as of right now, doesn't seem like it leads through Notre Dame.
Yeah. And this has nothing to do with what Coach Riley said or USC or anything. This is just kind of what I've surmised now covering the team and being in Los Angeles. Like, as sad as it is, but it's just a fact, like the younger fan base, I don't think cares as much. It's just kind of a fact. Like, this is more of the older players, the older fan base, and the younger fan base in this new age of college football cares much more about a college football playoff. They just do. I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent. And so, not saying you pander to one fan base or the other, but it seems like that's in the best interest of not just the program in terms of, payouts and stuff like that you get for making the college football playoff, but if you're trying to reinvigorate a younger fan base and a new fan base, you kind of want to go after what actually that fan base wants. And so getting to that college football playoff where fans are watching in January and into almost early February now with how long they extend it seemed to be the case. So that was one takeaway.
And Ryan, just quickly to end there, I mean, to see the glass half full, right, and we don't know if nothing is definitively happening. This is just sort of our interpretation of being here. But if now you take the weekender away, as has been the case the last couple of years with obviously the iconic trips up north to Stanford and Cal, and potentially Notre Dame goes away. Now think of all this space now that's available of potentially some new rivalries and what's really going to emerge there. So I guess this is part of the adventure of a new era in the Big Ten, but also in college football.
Well, and there's a precedent for that, because look at USC is getting a lot of crap right now, but didn't Notre Dame used to play Michigan State every single year?
Yep.
Didn't they play Michigan?
And Michigan.
Yes. Not every year. That was off and on, but I mean, it was a big rivalry. So, the Irish are not exactly, when they joined the ACC, they just put an end to all that and said, well, we're joining a conference, and that's the way it is. And it just seems like that's very similar to what's happening here at USC. And again, as a fan and an alum, it kills me to think that could end, but the fact is it's the reality. And so, guys, if you're out there, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying get ready.
Buckle up.
Yeah, I know. Let's hope it doesn't. So, and last thing on that, this is not from today, but Jamal, I remember just last year, you talked to like a Big Ten official that the goal was, and this had nothing to do with Notre Dame, but the goal was that a new rivalry to be born in the Big Ten, which would feature USC and Penn State.
Yeah, there was a very intentional choice by the conference to schedule USC and Penn State for the first 5 years of USC's entry into the conference, because the thinking there was, look, Ohio State, Michigan, that's sort of a sacred rivalry in this conference. How do we get two other iconic brands together and create another rivalry? Now, you can't artificially create a rivalry. Yeah. It has to be done on the field, but at least that was a very credible source told me that it was very intentional in terms of that schedule choice.
Yeah. Ironically, they don't play this year, but then they play the next. Exactly. They play the next three after that, and after the thriller overtime game last year, it got off to a great start. And Penn State obviously is the favorite this year in the conference, so they could theoretically play if you make it into the Big Ten championship game. So after that, I think that was the bulk of the 15 minutes. It's quick, it's early. Then we get to the 45-minute scrum. There's players as well. I know you kind of were in Makai Lemon's scrum a little bit. So let me just ask you first, before we go back to Riley, like any takeaways from Makai or any of the players that were here in-house?
I definitely got to Mackay, and it was not very long. The way they schedule this thing is kind of weird because then Mackay's in the middle of his scrum, and all of a sudden Lincoln Riley comes and everyone just flocks over to Lincoln Riley. So it was, I think they could have planned that a little bit better so they can respect the players a little more. But just overall, they're very well coached here at USC when it comes to answering questions. He just gave a lot of praise to his teammates. He talked about the importance of special teams. Obviously Mackay's going to play a big role in special teams this year. But overall, really, as soon as Lincoln Riley walked on there, we just kind of moved over to Lincoln Riley to see what was going there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just excited to see Mackay Lemon's season, obviously, on the field, what he was able to do last year, the consistency. And now that, as we all kind of have come to believe, it'll be him and Jacoby Lane running the show, with obviously other receivers sprinkled in that Lincoln Riley did talk about at the end of his kind of scrum session. So,
and he did talk about the importance of the focus on local recruiting a little bit. Talk about how proud he is being an alum of Los Alamitos High School and how much it means to him to play here at USC. So there was that, but really, honestly, nothing really new.
Yeah. Not surprised. Not surprised.
Nothing very new.
Let's talk quickly quarterbacks, right? Lincoln Riley was on a gamut of other stuff today, not just with us here, but he was doing Colin Cowherd. I know he did some of our local affiliates stuff, and I didn't see him emphatically say Maeva is the starter, but it did seem like he alluded to, as of now, Maeva is the guy. But Husan Longstreet is, pushing him and doing a lot well, and we'll see what fall camp prevails. Your thoughts, Jamal, just on, I don't think this is any shocker or surprise, but it seemed like there was a little bit more of a conclusion that, as of now, Maeva is the guy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Ryan. I think there were some really direct questions about Maeva and his evolution. And Lincoln answered it very directly about Maeva. And I think if there was a little bit more doubt in his mind, or if there was a little bit closer quarterback competition, I think he's savvy enough to have introduced the concept of Husan Longstreet in those questions. He did not do so at really any point during our time with him. I thought what was interesting is, a question was posed, where has Maeva perhaps made the biggest jump from the end of last year to this year, and what is Lincoln really looking for out of Maeva? And he said two things really emphatically. The first is the voice in the locker room and really kind of stepping up as a leader of the team and really taking that leadership role to the next level. And then the second Lincoln talked about was just his overall decisiveness in terms of decision making and getting the ball out quick with a lot of intention. So I think those are the two areas that Lincoln seems to have really focused on with Maeva, and those are really the two big opportunities in his game to really kind of strengthen the barometer this season.
Yeah, for sure, which is, good to, you want a little bit finality going into fall camp. And I think either way, after the first week, they'll probably announce, just like they did last year, like Miller Moss wasn't technically the starter. We all knew he would be. Took about a week, and then they officially made it official. I don't know if you guys saw, but while we're all doing this, the updated roster came out with the updated weights, and Maeva's 230.
Yeah.
According to that, what do you think of that? Just putting on a little meat,
it's never been a question about this guy as a physical specimen. I mean, he has that. It's just what you said, making those quick decisions, making those pre-snap reads, right? These things may take the next step. Maeva's got all the tools, and clearly he has an NFL quarterback body. So the sky's the limit with his physical tools. Can he let the game slow down to him? Can he gain that poise? Can he grasp this offense to where he can make those quicker decisions and get himself out of trouble?
Yeah, and just as a side anecdote in terms of the roster there, Ryan and Tim, and the weights coming out, Lincoln kind of cracked a joke about Jamal Jarrett as well. There was a question about Mr. Jarrett at 360 pounds, and Lincoln cracked a joke that he might be a cheeseburger or two further than 360, but a physical specimen, no doubt. That got a chuckle in the scrum for sure.
That's nearly three of me.
But he did say that if anyone Jaw could do it. He has the frame. Yeah. He's got the athleticism to play. Some people can carry that weight well. Some people can't. And it seems like Riley's confident that he can carry that weight. Yeah,
so last thing for me, and then if you have anything to add, do it. But kind of on that, in the weight program, and Tremaine Carroll now coming over from Kansas State, and, Riley was asked about why the decision was made and to move on from Benny Wiley. And, kind of just felt like we needed a new voice in the space. He was a guy that was highly respected and kind of ran a program that was extremely demanding, was kind of the way I took away from it. And we've seen very quickly the players respond to it, talk about his program and and obviously these weights, which last year did the same thing with Wiley. All the weights came out, but seeing guys even bigger than they were than last year, I think does speak to that. So Jamal, sorry, just your take on Carroll and what he can bring. A guy from a Big 12 program that led Kansas State, won the Big 12 just not 2 years ago when we were here in Vegas after USC lost to Utah. The very next day, Kansas State clinched the Big 12 on that precedent, on his program, and now he's with SC making them a stronger, more physical program.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting to hear Lincoln talk about, that particular hire and how Carroll had this unique blend of being a very intense individual and very demanding, but doing it in a graceful way and with care. And Lincoln Riley did sort of a great job of saying it was an incredible balance, and how Carroll just continued to keep impressing him, with every interaction. It was, I think, 3 Zoom calls, Lincoln said, before there was sort of an in-person interview, and he got better and better. And I think for Lincoln Riley, going away from a system and a set of coaches, particularly in the development room that he was familiar with, that he had a lot of success with, he just felt like it needed a new voice to be able to kind of take that next step. So I thought it showed a tremendous amount of maturity from Lincoln Riley, but also a tremendous amount of urgency from Lincoln Riley that this is a big year where he wants to make a significant jump in those trenches. And he talked about it even on the defensive side. I want to shift the narrative from going from highly improved defense to just a flat-out dominant defense. And I think he sees strength and conditioning as really the gateway to that.
Yeah, I think, to Lincoln Riley's credit, like these last 2 years, we've seen him have to move on from friends.
Yeah.
We've seen him have to make those tough decisions of like, this is a guy that, they have won together with, but it's a buddy, and move on and do what he thinks is actually best for the program. Any thoughts on Carroll, Tim?
Well, no, I think you guys nailed it, but most of it was roster. We all know that about the defensive interior, but there has to be some, like you brought up. It's not just depth; it's also your stamina late in that fourth quarter. Address those concerns, because USC was leading in every one of those Big Ten games, and some of them found a way not to hold on. Maybe this 25 squad can somehow get it together and close out some of those games. And maybe True's the guy that can do that for them.
Yeah, I'm really interested. So he said when they started looking for the position that there was a lot of interest.
Yeah.
He mentioned there are even some names that might surprise you. I'm curious, what do you think? Some
Yeah,
NFL strength
he alluded
coaches?
to some NFL names that would have surprised.
Maybe you could ask him. You could ask him when you see him during
when we're
USC
fishing.
Media Days.
Yeah, next time we're fishing together out on the lake, I'll ask them that. So anything else, gentlemen, to add as we kind of wrap up here in Vegas?
The last thing I'll ask is I thought it was interesting, kind of the question I asked him about who he thought was maybe flying under the radar from national and local media, and I think he could have answered that in a number of ways, but he was very definitive about 2 guys, one being Devin Tompkins and the other being Prophet Brown. So look out, Trojan fans, for those 2 individuals, particularly in fall camp and early in the season, making a big impact.
Yeah, no, I love that, because Devin Tompkins was a guy that had a huge impact last year, and I'll be the first to admit it, even with these new guys coming in, I've kind of glazed over it. I'm like, oh, look at these new Keyshawn Silver, Jad Jarrett, even Jakeem Stewart coming in as a freshman. And you forget, like, Devin Tompkins was an impact player last year, and Coach Henny's talked about him, too, about get ready for this jump. And then Prophet Brown, obviously you lose every starter outside of Kamari Ramsey, and then DeCarlos Nicholson being that fringe starter. He's a guy that's been with the program for a long time, high character guy, leader, and now can come in, kind of slide into potential starting role, whether it's nickel or on the outside, and have an impact. So love that he went defensive guys, right? The offensive mind going defensive guys. He must be disrupting stuff in camp so far. Anything else, Tim?
No, you guys wrapped it up pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Well, from Las Vegas, now a beautiful Mandalay Bay right behind us here. Tim Prangley, the Madman. I'm Ryan Dyer. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button at the USC LAFB channel, and make sure you find all your USC Trojans news at LAFBnetwork.com. As always,